Meet George, the chef on a mission to make tofu a staple in America. Trained under a 5th-generation tofu master in China, George is here to prove that everything you know about tofu is wrong. In this episode of China Unpacked, we'll taste tofu dishes that will make you go, I can't believe it's tofu. We'll learn George's secrets for making tofu rich, flavorful, and exciting, and explore how this humble ingredient's versatility might just be the key to saving our planet. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of China Unpacked. And in this episode, we'll have a very, very special guest for you. He's the authority on everything tofu. He is the tofu guy, all right? The tofu man. I'm the rice man. He's the tofu man.
Hey, tofu rice. That's the best combination.
Without further ado, welcome George Stiffman.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm George, the tofu guy. My Chinese name is Xiaozhi.
Yeah,
good to see you, Victor.
Yeah, good to see you, George. Everyone, if I just ask them, hey, you know the tofu guy, they know exactly who you are. So tell us, how did this tofu journey get started?
Oh man, it's a long journey. The first time I visited China was in 2014. I was in high school and had the opportunity to spend a summer with a local family in Tianjin. It was the best summer of my life up to the point. Every day, my host family would take me out to eat. We would, for 5 of us, order 15 dishes at a local restaurant and rotating cuisines from Tianjin food to Hunan food to different types of hot pot to, Cantonese dim sum and on every single day for 30 days. And by the end of it, I was sort of like, I didn't realize Chinese food was so vast. So I came home to Minnesota, to Twin Cities, and was horribly depressed because I was like, wow, this is just not as I'm back in school. This sucks. And I later went vegetarian. I was worried about climate change and learned that by eating plant-based diet, you can actually lower your emissions quite a lot. So I studied with him. And then the next year I was studying with his student at a restaurant in Beijing. And then eventually was kind of like, hey, what do I actually want to do with my life? Like, do I want to open restaurants? Do I want to be a chef? Do I want to start a business? And I realized that if I want to become an incredible chef in the kitchen, that's something that takes decades. You can't learn it in a couple summers. But maybe I could focus on something more specific. And so that's when I decided to really specialize in tofu. So in 2019, I found a shifu in Guiyang. He's a 5th-generation master from this small area called Bijie Dafang. So I guess I'm a 6th-generation shifu from Bijie Dafang.
So does that mean, like, if you teach other people, you could teach other people how to make tofu, and whoever your disciple is, they'll be the 7th generation?
Something like that. I don't think I could take on a disciple. My master is like, my shifu is like, he's very good at what he does. And I'm not anywhere at his level.
Wow. So how does that work? How do you just approach someone and be like, oh, I want to be your disciple and teach me tofu?
Literally, that's what it was. Wow. I was in Guiyang, which is the provincial capital of Guizhou province. And Guizhou is interesting in that it's very similar to Sichuan in sort of food, with a few big differences. A little bit more fermented, a little bit. There's like a few big dishes from Guizhou. There's also like not as much economic development. So because Guizhou is blocked off from the rest of China for many years until like the recent economic boom in the 80s and 90s, the food has developed. There's been a lot less meat and a lot more tofu. So there's like 5 or 6 types of tofu in Guizhou that you can only get in Guizhou. Things like qiaohui tofu, this tofu that's coated and cooked in charcoal ashes until it develops sort of this purplish skin, and the alkali in the ashes tenderize it. It's so tender and it's smoky. And again, you can't find it anywhere in China besides Guizhou. There's special types of meltable tofu that explode a little juice when you,
really?
爆浆小豆腐. And then you have unique types of dougan from like Dafang is a famous one. So on and on and on.
So explain to the audience what dougan is like.
Dougan is like if you take everything in firm tofu and press it even more. So it's like in English, it's often called pressed tofu. The Chinese literally means dry tofu. A lot of pressed tofu is seasoned with a marinade. It's actually stewed in soy sauce, cinnamon, star anise. So it has a lot of flavor and sometimes a little bit of salt in there.
It's like the tofu that most people they'll bring in their air luggage, right? They're like the snack tofu.
And that's another one, yeah. Snack tofu too. I brought, oh man, I want to say 3 pounds back from China this last trip.
Is that legal?
No, but
Ice, where are you? Okay, the ice is not for that.
Hey, we welcome all fans, even if you're trying to support us back to where we came from.
All right, so you were in Guiyang. All right, you find all these incredible tofu dishes, right? And then you're just like, holy cow, I need to learn how to make these.
Yeah, I was at the street. I was literally hanging out with a friend. I was studying in Beijing. We ended up taking a trip out to Guizhou, and we were eating at a food stand that, an auntie with like, I guess it was a charcoal grill, but it's sort of this like big box. You can't even see anything inside. And she just had these pieces of tofu slowly sputtering over the grill. I ordered a piece and finished grilling it. It was sort of like a little bit elastic looking, a little bit darker brown, a little bit brown on the outside, and sort of puffed up. And she got this roasted, fire burnt chili sauce, hulajiao, with some zhougan, this fishy root that's popular there, and stuck it in. I bit in. I was like, oh my God. I was like, is this egg? It's like melty inside. It's like liquefied inside. She's like, no, it's just tofu.
Wow, so on the outside it's hard. It's more like hard, but inside it's like it almost has like a filling inside.
Yeah.
And it just explodes in your mouth.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's called the tofu dumpling of love. Lianai tofu guo.
Exploding in your mouth. That's love.
It's just
Wow.
chef's kiss. But I was like, this is incredible. This is the most interesting food I'd ever eaten. And so that summer, I went back to Guiyang and I wandered around a produce market. And at this market, there were maybe 4 or 5 tofu sellers. Hey, can I study with you? I would love to learn, how to make this. I want to promote these foods in the US. No, I'm sorry, we don't teach. Like, no, why the hell would you want to study to make tofu? It's like, we're only doing it because we have to, because we don't have other opportunities.
Yeah.
This job sucks.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at it from different eyes, right? They're just trying to make a living, and you're like, wow, this is some gourmet stuff.
I chatted with his assistant at the market, and she put me in touch, and he was like, come on in tomorrow at 1 a.m.
What? 1 a.m.? That's when they start to prepare tofu to sell in the morning?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I overslept my alarm and I didn't go in that day. And then I felt really bad and was like, oh no, I lost my opportunity and this is it. And I messaged him and he's like, it's okay, just come in the next day. Working with him was, you'd wake up in the middle of the night, early morning. You would make several batches, maybe 3 big batches a day, and you would finish at noon. And then you would hang out for an hour and then go to sleep. And
it's basically a very early shift.
And you have to. If you're in China selling tofu, you have to produce like that. Because if you're not pasteurizing, if you're not building producing your tofu in an industrial facility, it has a shelf life of a couple days. And so if you're going to produce it that morning and sell it that day, it has maybe 2-3 days of shelf life. If you produce it during the day and you sell it in the evening, well, you already lost a whole day. It's not doable. People want fresh.
What you learn from him, are you going to apply these replicable?
Yeah. So in terms of the tofu itself, when I came back, I actually had 1 more semester of college to finish. And I spent a lot of that time in my backyard making batch after batch of tofu to try to replicate his technique in the US. I ended up actually developing a slight variation of it. So he curdles his soy milk with pickled fermented mustard greens juices. I ended up using that for a while, but I also did a version with apple cider vinegar, which has a slighter sweeter taste, and sprinkled it with cinnamon sugar and actually created like a French toast flavor tofu. Was doing that one for a while. But to be honest, it's harder to produce here in some ways because that pickled vegetable juice at industrial scale, it's not going to pass HACCP code. So you're not going to easily get a permit from the government to say, this is like fine to sell in supermarkets. And his tofu, instead of, you have to cook your soy milk before you turn it into tofu. His was all cooked in wood fire. A huge kiln, actually 2 kilns. One to boil the soy milk, one to boil a pot of water that was going to be added to the soy milk. And yeah, I mean, that smell, that flavor, you can't get it at a large scale in the US.
You got to go to Guizhou to get it.
Yeah.
I imagine one day you can make, what you just tell me, you say like a French toast flavored tofu. Maybe you can make like different flavors of tofu, right? And then make it into like different bags.
You can.
And then you could be like a dessert for people, right? Then you can get the boba girl crowd. Maybe you can get a tofu inside like a milk tea. Hey. Investigate that.
If anyone wants to help promote tofu, whether you're a boba girl or not a boba girl, you're welcome to join us in our efforts.
Yeah, I mean, I think they already have something similar to tofu inside boba tea. It's like some kind of jelly, right? But I imagine you can put like the tofu hua.
Yeah, put
right?
a tofu hua in there.
The soaking tofu in there. Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, they wouldn't know.
There's actually a type of tofu called 千叶豆腐 or 百叶豆腐, which in English, where people tend to call it spongy tofu. If you mince it up and then boil it, a lot of the seasonings and fat in there will actually like float away, and you're left with these. They're almost like little curds, kind of like the size of spätzle, and they have this a little bit of that fresh soy flavor, a little bit sweet, and you can put that in a boba.
Oh,
it's really great.
How did you even discover that? You just one day just boil it up? And
my chef partner on our book, Vanessa Lauren, she was like messing around. It was like, oh my God, the tofu, she boiled it. It was like the tofu puffed up, and then the flavor changed. And then she was like, what if we mince it and then do the same thing? And it was like, oh, actually it has this really clean taste.
That's crazy. All these things can just like, you're just doing an experiment with them every day and to find out new ways of using them. They're so super versatile.
But at the time I had just gone vegetarian, and I was recently going vegan, and the options just back home were not it. We didn't have all these exciting proteins and all these exciting seasonings. And I was like, man, this is like everything we need. Back home at the time, there are mainly 2 types of vegetarian food options. The first was what I call subtractive vegetarian foods. These are like if you take a meat dish and just remove the meat. Ham and cheese sandwich.
That doesn't sound exciting.
Yeah, it's
hamburger without the burger.
And whatever, it's like a transition thing. You're getting used to new foods, like whatever. But it's not sustainable. It's not appealing. One step up from that is so-called like substitutive plant-based foods. These are like you take a hamburger and you substitute it in a plant-based patty, Impossible or Beyond or something like that. Our options are getting better and better day by day. I mean, the amount of ingenuity into how to craft the best plant-based replica is just, it's really beautiful, actually.
And did you coin these terms, substitutive and subtractive? Did you coin those terms, or was it?
I mean, that's what I've been calling it for a number of years. People Like I'm sure someone else has come up with similar words, but
I was thinking they sound like some kind of math equation. Like I don't know why when I hear them, like this is like algebra class. Like
oh
substantive
no, oh
vegetarianism, associative vegetarianism.
We're gonna traumatize your audience. No one's gonna want
This
to
is
listen.
not a math class. Vegetarianism is not that hard, guys. Okay, there's only two kinds, and then is there a third kind?
Yeah, so I was like, at the time, our substitutes still weren't where they are today. And even today, I think our substitutes have a long ways to go. And that's from both the flavor side and also from the cost side, because a lot of them are, unfortunately, just take money to develop. So in China, there was this third type of plant-based food, which we didn't have much in the US, and that's just traditional items that were always vegetarian or vegan, just because that's how they always were. And a lot of these foods, they're not eaten by vegetarians or vegans, they're eaten by everyone. In China, that was for a number of reasons. One was Buddhism. So a lot of people, because of that faith, don't eat meat, or they don't eat meat on a couple days a month. It was also true for, there was some emperors in China that were plant-based. And so they actually had entire legions of chefs creating amazing, ornate vegetarian foods for them, like 宫廷素食. And that was especially a thing in the Qing dynasty. So there were those two, but then the biggest source of plant-based foods in China was economic. Just meat requires more resources to raise an animal than to grow a plant. And so most people, for most of Chinese history, ate mostly plants. And it just so happened that Guizhou, partially, again, because economically has been more depressed for longer, partially it's cut off from a lot of China because of the mountains. It's a lot of minority groups that now most people speak Mandarin, but like there's that cultural barrier. And so they developed all these tofus and all these plant-based items. I think the best city in the world, I haven't visited everywhere, but I think the best city in the world for vegan food is Guizhou. And I've taken vegan friends in China to Guizhou, and they've been like, oh my God, you're right. Like this is way more than Beijing or Shanghai or Guangzhou or any of the cities or any of the towns. So I'm hoping we can take folks from outside China even to Guiyang.
Yeah,
someday.
we got to put Guiyang on the map. Even though most people there, they're probably not even vegan. Because I remember when I grew up in China, it's just like my parents, they'd love to eat vegetables. Usually on the weekend, if there's, we have a big family get together, we have several just vegetarian dishes. And then there's like vegetarian restaurant. We occasionally will just go there. And I remember when I grew up there, I was always get annoying when I have to go to the vegetarian place because I was like, why are we eating suji, which is, it literally translates as vegetarian chicken. I was like, why are we eating this vegetarian chicken? Why aren't we eating real chicken? Why?
A lot of this stuff, most people love the taste of meat, and that's fine. People who eat meat eat fruit. People eat broccoli. It's just there's a lot of, the more good options you have, the better.
At what point did you become vegan? What was the tipping point?
That was 2016, end of 2016.
So that was after you went to China.
Yeah.
You were exposed to all the vegan options.
Again, like environmentally, it just made sense for me. And within our food system, we're actually fighting 3 wars right now. And it's not like an us versus them. It's really just us against the problem. The first war is climate change. And food contributes a lot to greenhouse gas emissions. And within food, specifically meat, is a huge chunk of that. To raise 100 calories of chicken meat, you actually need to put in 900 calories of grain. So one of the best solutions is to eat less meat. The carbon emissions per gram of protein for tofu versus chicken is 1/3. The second war is antimicrobial resistance. So because we have a ton of farm animals at any given time in the US, I think we have 10 billion chickens a year. To be efficient for farms to make money, we need to keep animals in really close confinement. In general, just because you have so many animals that are so close together, there's not a lot of money for a lot of sanitation stuff. So these animals get sick and are given a lot of antibiotics to stop infection. I think as of a couple of years ago, 60% of antibiotic use in the US was actually from farmed animals, not from humans. When this becomes a problem is as antibiotics are used, bacteria and microbes develop tolerance to those antibiotics. Then if humans are trying to treat illnesses, our illnesses are actually also developing resistance. So there's a lot of worry that if these current antibiotic uses continue, pretty soon our antibiotics are not going to be effective. The World Health Organization has actually said that this might be, if untreated, the end of modern medicine as we know it. Because literally, any surgery you get, if you can't take antibiotics after, your risk of infection shoots way up. For things, everyday illnesses like UTIs, strep throat, it's really serious if we don't have antibiotics that work. The third war is the way we treat non-human animals. The way I think of it is I would only want the best for my dog or cat. I had cats growing up. I think actually most people want to treat farmed animals in a similar way, if not quite as luxurious. But the truth is because we want to raise animals at an affordable cost, they're crammed in very dismal conditions and live short lives that are just not very pleasant. So chickens, for example, when they're born, they actually get their noses, their beaks snapped and cut off, because if they don't, when they're put next to each other, they're actually going to fight and kill each other. For layer hens, because they originally laid eggs monthly, now they lay eggs daily. So if you think of the impact on their bodies and specifically the calcium needs, they actually pull calcium because they can't get enough from their feed from their own bones to produce these eggs. And that actually leads to osteoporosis and broken legs that last the whole lifetime. So they're living on constantly broken limbs. So this is all to say, these aren't issues of vegans, non-vegans. It's not an issue of US versus China. These are issues that we all think are problems. The best ways to combat them are to, I think, find more delicious plant-based foods that people can choose to incorporate into their diets. And I think one of the greatest ways of doing that is by learning from other cultures. So where China has this long legacy of plant-based cooking, plant-forward cooking, tofus, seitans, mushrooms, I think chefs in the US have a lot that we can learn from China.
Right now, what you're doing is you're bringing some of the tofu dishes or the product to America from China, right?
Yeah. The last couple years, I worked with a team of local chefs in LA to find ways to incorporate Chinese tofus into Western cooking styles. And one of the chefs, David Lespron, the other was Vanessa Lauren, really great people. So we wrote a book called Broken Cuisine on the topic. And now I'm working on how can we actually expand the supply of these tofus so that if you don't live next to an Asian market, but you still want to try, how do we get those ingredients to you? So our company is called Soisery, and we're starting by importing a variety of tofu from Shanghai that we're calling Shanghai tofu, or in Chinese is called suji. And we're trying to get it into universities where they serve thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of meals a day. So if we can get a couple schools to start, then I think we can get enough demand to actually get product over. And then hopefully we'll be able to build that into products that consumers can get.
Hopefully one day tofu will just be a normal thing here that you don't even have to think about, right? It's just like, I think nowadays, people just think tofu is like, they think it's very exotic almost sort of thing. I'm just curious because, with the US-Chinese tension being all-time high right now, has there ever been some pushback when you try to promote tofu in America?
Yeah. I haven't experienced any of the most crazy stuff of like, there's no like overt racism or anything like that. In terms of branding, I've always thought of my work as promoting Chinese tofus because those are the tofus that I experienced in China, and they're not as popular in Japan or Korea or Vietnam. But talking with folks here, a lot of people are like, oh, don't call it China, call it Asian tofus, not exclusive, and like it avoids the whole China issue. And to me, that's fine. Like you can, they are Asian ingredients, but like I kind of am gonna stick with China because it's not about politics. It's not about it's just about that's where the foods are from. And then on the import side, because a lot of actually in my experience, the tastiest tofu available in the US is mostly imported. Not always, but mostly imported and mostly imported from China. And so in order to bring more of these ingredients here, we're starting with imports. If we go back to up to 130% tariffs, not sure how likely it is that we'll get these products here anytime soon. Hopefully we won't get back up to 130%.
I mean, they're food. Why would we need to put tariff on some harmless tofu, right? There's
You never know, man.
Some jiggly tofu. So what are they gonna do?
You never know.
Explode in the mouth. On the other side of the equation, has there ever been anyone accuse you of cultural appropriation?
Yeah. And especially, I mean, 5 years ago, I'd say the general public discourse was much more cautious around issues like cultural appropriation. It's interesting because on one hand, in China, if I say I'm working on promoting Chinese culture in the States, people are like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, we want all this beauty to be shared. And so people want to support and help. In the US, honestly, it's mostly that too. Because I'm not going out here to own tofu. I'm not like the only tofu guy. And I'm not pretending I invented it. So I think people know that I'm doing this in good faith. I think the challenge with cultural appropriation is like mainly if you're trying to like own it or put down folks who are already doing it. But at this point, we just need more advocates.
Mm-hmm. And plus, you literally went to China and you learned the in and out how to make tofu. So you're literally starting from the root, and you're basically promoting it here. You're not just like taking something and just made it into your own thing and saying your version is better than anyone else's. All right, so George, you prepared us some dishes.
Yes, sir. We wanted to showcase a few different types of Chinese tofus that most folks here in the States aren't familiar with. And we did a mix of Chinese style preparation. So we have a very classic 凉拌腐竹 or tofu sticks. And what tofu sticks are is if you take soy milk and you heat it up, there's a layer of protein and a little bit of fat that rises to the surface. So you skim that off and roll it and dry it. That's what you get here.
So that's basically, when it dries, it's really obviously really hard. But this is more like a softer texture.
Exactly.
Right? And it's more, I'm guessing it's more nutritious as well, right? Because it's raised to the top, it's more like more protein.
Yeah, the 精华. Yeah, it's more protein, fewer carbs, and it's really dense. So you don't need to eat a ton of this to get your fill versus like a firm block of tofu can taste great, but it's a ton of water.
So it's condensed tofu.
Yeah.
Right. Good stuff you want to have on the go, especially if you're the gym guys, you want to have the tofu stick. Right?
Oh.
Maybe that could be a future. It could be a tofu protein stick.
That's what I'm saying.
Bar.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. What is that?
So this over here is a French toast tofu made out of suji, or this variety of tofu from Shanghai that we're calling in English Shanghai tofu.
Really? That is suji?
It's literally tofu, but because of suji is special properties, it's more custardy and more eggy texturally than firm tofu. So we just sliced it up, fried it very briefly, and then stewed it in custardy, soy milk, seasonings, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of maple syrup, and finished it off, just seared it.
I can't imagine what it tastes like to be very sweet. Seriously, it's gonna be a mind fuck, guys. And then what is this? Looks like a 肉夹馍 to me.
This is 中西结合. This is a Chinese U.S. sort of mixture On the outside, we have a 馒头, like a 和碟包, a 和碟馒头. So like a lotus, bun that opens like this. And on the inside, we have silken tofu garlic aioli. We have some Vietnamese radish and carrot pickles, a little bit of sweet crunch, a little bit of refreshing acid, some cucumbers. And then the main show is Shanghai tofu or suji that's braised with soy sauce, a little bit of mushroom oyster sauce. We got a little bit of sugar. And at the very end, some red fermented tofu that we just mix in there. So we got a nice little funk from that.
So there's 2 different type of tofu inside.
Yes, sir.
I couldn't even tell. It's all in there. You just have to taste it. Yeah. Right? And then what is that? That's tofu? Like, I cannot believe that is tofu.
This is my favorite tofu dish ever.
Really?
And the thing is it's interesting because it's inspired by Italian dessert cannolis. But I don't know anyone in my friend group who loves eating cannolis. They're sort of like a cookie that you maybe put cream cheese in, and it's just sort of sweet and savory, and it just has a texture that's kind of its own thing. We use 2 types of tofu in here. The shell is a very thin tofu skin, or yuba. And we laminate it, we brush it with simple syrup, sprinkle it with some flaky sugar, roll it, fry it. And what happens is the sugar in between each of the layers caramelizes and crystallizes really fast, 20, 30 seconds. And it solidifies the shape. And then the sheets themselves puff a little bit. So you get this crunch from the sugar, the crunch from the sheets, and then we fill it with a silken tofu chocolate ganache that has a little bit of vanilla bean, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of brown sugar.
Wow. So that cream is made of tofu.
That's right.
Wow. It's all tofu. Like, it just looks like, just like a normal cannoli. I can't believe that. Well, let's dig in. Which one would you recommend to go first?
I'm going to say let's do the cannoli first.
Okay.
Because as soon as it's filled, it's a ticking time bomb. You want to get it where it's really crunchy.
Okay.
So
let's taste it. Alrighty.
So you feel it's kind of hard. It's.
All right, let's give it a shot. Oh my God.
What do you think?
Wow, I can taste the tofu. The thing is, like, if you didn't tell me this was tofu, I wouldn't have known it. Wow, and it is really crunchy and wow.
It melts in your mouth, right?
That's true. Yeah, I can have this all day, every day.
Crunch, and then it just sort of dissolves, and so it doesn't leave a heavy taste. You see inside, it's like got a lot of air pockets, so that gives it that lightness.
And best of all, this has a lot of protein, guys. Probably like 10 grams of protein each.
I'm just saying, we're getting huge out here.
We're getting gangs out here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm speechless. I cannot believe tofu can do this. I cannot believe you made this out of tofu.
And you can too. It's an easy recipe. Anyone can do it. As long as you get the right type of tofu.
That's the tough part.
That's the tough part.
Let's do the sweet stuff first. Right,
I'm thinking sweets.
Yeah.
Life's short.
Yeah, life's
dessert
short.
for first.
That's true. For sure. Wow. I feel like on the outside, this is like a normal French toast, but inside you have this very like you sometimes make a French toast is very wet, right? And then it tastes the same as that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This recipe is really unique. And the challenge is because Shanghai tofu has a little bit of alkaline in it, it's made with baked baking soda, which tenderizes it. But as you heat the tofu up, it actually continues to tenderize. So if you cook it for a long amount of time in sauce or in water, what'll happen is it'll just keep breaking down, almost liquefying. But if you you don't want it to do that forever. You want to get that just the nice amount. And so then you fry it a little bit first. That helps to hold the shape. But if you fry it too long, then it will toughen and get rubbery. If you fry it too short, it'll get like, it'll break apart. So this dish, you have to get that perfect balance.
I'm surprised because I never imagined suji or Shanghai tofu is like a sweet or savory dish. But I can totally see it definitely has the property. It definitely has the texture to be a dessert like food, right? This has got to be the first usage of suji as a dessert anywhere.
I think so.
Yeah, you're the first person. Wow. We gotta go to some of the temples. We gotta introduce them to these new concoctions that George made.
Hey, we might have to.
Yeah. Let's go with this. Maybe let's go with this dish.
Okay.
Right?
Oh man, are we going straight sweet to savory?
Sweet to savory. So this is the yuba tofu, right?
Yep. This is yuba or tofu sticks.
Tofu sticks.
Is another form of yuba.
So like this thing at the beginning, they're like kind of like thin sheets, right? After some process, they just kind of like turn to a stick, right?
It's
Is that
just
what
it's
happened?
just magical. The tofu is like, hey, I want to become it's the they when they're making this again, they skim off a little skin, and then the skin is either hung whole, and so you get these big sheets, or it's rolled into this stick. The sheet's just rolled, and then it's dried. You can get either way. And this one's easy to do. Garlic,
Cucumber.
chili, and cumin seed. Splash some hot oil over that. Mix in a little bit of peanut butter, a little bit of roasted sesame paste, 麻酱, and then soy sauce, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of sugar. That's it.
Sorry if we're just eating on this podcast, but it is so good. I guess this is the mini event tonight.
All right, last one.
Wow. I'm super excited about this because I love hamburgers. And then this is, I guess someone could say this is a Chinese hamburger.
It has been called that before. But in terms of the filling, you're not going to find this filling, I don't think, anywhere.
Yeah, this is a George Stiffman original. Let's have a taste.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. Yeah. Oh. Oh my God. Oh, it's super tasty. Wow. And I love how this tofu, the juices just ooze out of it. Right? And that's the thing about suji is it can get a lot of flavors in there.
It's a little bit porous inside, so it sucks up sauce. And then as soon as you bite it, it just releases all that juice at you.
And this is a little bit of Vietnamese, American, and Chinese.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the whole shebang.
And this dish was inspired by a pop-up we did with my barbecue tofu pop-up restaurant at a restaurant in downtown LA called Olac. They're a Vietnamese vegan restaurant and do great, a lot of great vegan Vietnamese food, as well as more raw cuisine as well. And so we were like, hey, let's do a sandwich. I want to do something tofu. And they're like, oh, we got all these ingredients. So we just put it together and it made sense.
It's very versatile. As you can see, tofu, you can make so many different dishes, so many different cuisines.
I feel like we're done, man.
Yeah.
Ready to
Let's
take a nap.
Yeah.
Put on my feet, end of the day.
Guys, we're gonna see you on the next podcast.